this is broken out into a couple of different things. You have an inbox here where it lists all the needs. And then all the needs that you get also get sent to you as an email, and it's whatever email that you set up. So most of the needs you'll see here are in Baltimore, and I just know it because I've been in the system before. So like Saratoga Manor, those are contracts. Most of those are in Baltimore. If the contract gets canceled or gets filled, this is kind of where you see all of that. And then on to the left is actually your account reps who manage that particular contract. So if you have questions or anything, those are the people that you would need to connect with. So most of these are contracts. Crescent View, Piscataway. These are all contracts. So let's take a quick look at one. And because we don't staff heavily in Genesis Staffing Services areas, I don't spend a lot of time here, but just so that you guys can get an idea. So in Maryland, they call geriatric nurses assistants GNAs, and those CNA types who take the additional training also get additional monies. So this is, Letitia, this is for career side. I'll be sending to our email. So yeah, I can send everybody an email of some of the stuff that I share. Yes. So this lists the healthcare systems, which is just Genesis Healthcare, but if you have others, it'll go here. You can search. Let's see, because it's only, let's see what's in Delaware. So you can search, it's only one healthcare system, but say if I wanted to see Brocken Center or some of the other centers, I can search that one. I'm going to search all of them because there's not a lot of centers in Delaware. So we're searching for contracts. So we see they have a CNA contract in Milford for June 3rd through 9/22. Seems about 10, 13 weeks. This kind of gives you more information. There's the hours, the date range for the contract, so it's 16 weeks. You would put in the hourly rate, the types of role, career staff, and then the facility, which is Milford, which is in Delaware. If you're not sure where a place is located, you can always go there. And then here it lists out the requirements for that particular client. So every client's going to have a reference request. They're also going to ask for an attestation form. Some require dementia training, some don't. The influence of vaccination is, dependent upon where we are in the year. When they say professional license, it also applies to certifications for your certified nursing assistants, and then your resume, and then any state specific requirements. And some of this can get a little tricky if you're doing multiple states, just because different states have different requirements when it comes to the background. For instance, New Mexico, you can run the background, but they still have to get fingerprints when they start. In Delaware, you can't run the background, you can't do the fingerprints, all of it has to go through the state. So, those are things that you just have to be mindful of from a time standpoint of view, as well as if you're bringing travelers, because people who work in Delaware, people who work in New Mexico know about that requirement. I'm talking about employees. But if you're bringing a traveler to Delaware, they may not know that you have to go into the fingerprint department to get fingerprinted. Everything goes to a separate system. And it's not something that's ever outsourced. So got documents, reports. I'm gonna keep moving. So you can run what they call a missing credential expiration report. So at any point, if your applicant's license or CPR or TB is expiring, you can run that report and it'll show you that. So I would definitely encourage people to use that. Like I said, a lot of this stuff I don't really use because it's not applicable for us. But for those who want to get it or who have access, make sure that you have both system accesses. Shifts. And then if you just want to look at one facility, their openings, you can go to that. and then it'll drop down if they have stuff open. So there's a couple of different ways for you to look through the system. These are all per diems. If you see where it says shift date, it just says today. So that's just a per diem shift. If it's a contract, it'll say 6/3 to 6/30. All of them have shift IDs. You go to request submission, and then you go to request the shift. And from there, that's where you would actually add people. There would be people here under professionals where they said select healthcare professionals. So you would have already uploaded their documents, and then they would drop in here if they're the right, if they fall in the right criteria. Okay. So home, there's not much else. Inbox stays full. You get these same messages in an email form. So I tell people, set up another inbox so that you're able to have these messages. So like, this is what? It's 92. So they sent 92 emails out into my email inbox. So you can have it directed to an actual folder. Or, just, adjust the settings so you can get it on a weekly basis or some other types of setting. But okay, so let's get to the next one, which is the one I've spent most of the time in, and most people have spent most of their time in, which is careers, which is Stafferlink. Oh, let's just do the screen share. Okay, that's not right. Sorry about that. And, your account manager is really a great resource. So as you're kind of going through the process of bringing people in, you want to make sure that you're in contact. Like if you have questions about stuff, the role of the account manager in the call center is to assist you with that. So you want to make sure that you're reaching out to them. So when we first got going, I called the call center every day. And either it was about me wanting to know the status of the applicant or what have you. And essentially that's what they're there for. They're there to answer questions, give you status updates and things of that nature. So I encourage people not to kind of be shy. That's what you're paying your extra 5% or what have you fee. For the system so that they can support you. Let's try this again. If you guys have any questions about B4 Health, feel free when I get into the.
I think I had a question about career staff. How long does it take for them to approve an applicant usually?
It can depend. For us, it's usually about 3 to 5 days if your whole profile is complete. So if you have everything that you need and, there's no missing error, and over time, you'll kind of create a system. For instance, like they want the referrals done a certain way. So we just created the form so that as a recruiters or compliance coordinator got the information, that wouldn't be our hiccup. So that's why I was talking earlier about kind of creating systems and processes for yourself so that something like, oh, well, you forgot to put the date when the employee worked with that supervisor won't be a stop for you to get somebody started. And I will say too, they'll work with you because they want people working because they make money. If we make money, it's all a part of the game. So they could easily say, if that's the only hiccup and you're like, yeah, I have somebody who can start today, they'll be like, okay, well, get it to us today. We'll go ahead and submit it to the client. And that typically isn't a hindrance, but you really have to communicate with them and they'll, kind of move your people through the process.
Okay. And when we're submitting a client, we have to submit them to a job. I mean, not client. When we're submitting an applicant or one of our employees, we have to submit them with a job. So
Right.
We're submitting them to a job. Oh, okay.
Right. So here, this is Stafferlink. And this is the way it looks. And if you look here, this is one of 10,000 jobs. So you would have to look and see, and I'm just going to sort so you guys can kind of see some of it. As I mentioned, I'm not sure that everybody, so the one of 10,000 is if you have all of their clients. There are some clients that they changed around. So Genesis was bought out by a couple of different companies, Autumn Healthcare, Recover Care, Complete Care. So there, for instance, if Complete Care was in PA and they already had existing properties and then bought some of the Genesis properties, because they're a client of Career Staff, you also get access to some of those other clients or some of those other facilities or properties. So that's partially why the number is a little bit higher. This is the highest I've ever seen it. But they've added Complete Care, Recover Care, Autumn Healthcare, Fusion Healthcare Services, and all of those companies have bought some of the Genesis properties out there. So essentially, it's going to always look like this. You're going to see all this keep highlighting, which is just really telling you the job is open, closed. Let's see. Okay.
I had a quick question. When you're submitting, when you're, I guess, advertising the job to a potential employee, do you identify one facility, or you say we have plenty of jobs available? Because I just want to because if we submit them, they're not accepted, we just have another option for them. So how do you frame it for the employee?
I would, I would say if that's the case. So I would say that you have a couple of options if you have a couple of options. So, wow, this is crazy. Okay. So there are certain states that are a little bit more busy than others. I'm gonna use the states I know.
I'm particularly talking about Maryland.
Okay, Maryland's busy because they were bought. They added Autumn Health Care. So let's look at that. Perfect. Okay, so New Mexico, they have 1,000 jobs. I would definitely say that. Maryland too, because now that they added Autumn Health and Complete Care, they have quite a few. So they have 2,900 openings. So I would say that, and a lot of them are contracts. So if you look here under dates, just like in Before Health, these are all contracts. And I'll talk at the end what the colors mean. But these are all contracts out there. So I feel like Bellinger Creek, that's a new facility I hadn't heard of before. But Severna Park, Catonsville, those all look from previous that were. And if you look here to the left, it says previously Corsica Hills. So that's saying that was a Genesis property bought out by Complete Care. So in posting the jobs, unless it's just specific, you want to kind of be generic, but be honest in that it's long-term care. And I'll show you guys another example. If in the notes here, where we see notes, they say high ratios or a bonus, you want to include that in your language too. If it's specific hours, like a lot of the jobs in New Mexico, because they're CNAs and nurses do 12-hour shifts, you'll see something like, I saw it earlier, let me see. like here in the notes under this one, it says Sunday 6 a.m. to 2, Thursday 6 to 6, Friday 6 to 6. So that's the shift.
Mhm.
Whereas there are other clients that might say it's a variable shift. You know, they're just offering, 40 hours a week. And then in New Mexico, they have, I think everybody, I'm not going to just say New Mexico, a lot of people have a lot of these quick start bonuses. That's something that you can incentivize your people to complete their paperwork. New Mexico has quite a need, so that would explain that. And you don't also, this is a good one, I didn't mean to tap on that, but you don't just have to do nurses. A lot of places do RN supervisors. This is an RN unit manager role. They also do MDS. They do certified nurse educators, CNAs. What else? You guys help me out that are in the system. Some of this. So there's a lot of different kinds of roles out there. I think it's called RN super. Okay. And as far as maneuvering through the system, this is what you see me doing. Okay, it's called something else. It's like an Excel spreadsheet. So you can sort each column. So you can sort each column. You can sort ascending, descending. You can type in if it's a greater than, or you can type in contains. So there's a lot of manipulation because I'm not, and I'm sure you guys can agree, I'm not looking at 10,000 jobs every day. That's too much. So you can really just bring it down to the view that you want to see. So you mentioned Maryland, let's hang out in Maryland a little bit. So that way you're not looking at thousands and thousands of jobs. So Maryland has quite a few, but what you can do as well here is edit your view and only look at contracts. So now we're only seeing, the contracts that they have open. Now, I will say I did notice since they added complete care only for Maryland, they don't have the pay, the starting pay. So that's probably something that you would have to get from the contract. So every client will list in their contract their starting pay or their desired pay. In there. So I want to get, so you can see some of the other pay. So complete care, I think it's Maryland. I think it's Delaware and Pennsylvania. So where is their complete care contracts in New Jersey and Pennsylvania actually show a starting pay rate? So this is some of the New Jersey. Again, GNAs are specific to Maryland. This is some of the Pennsylvanias. And then if they're pretty desperate, they'll, and I've looked this up for you guys ahead of time. They'll do what I've seen PA do is, I'm gonna find that one, is offer pretty desirable roles. So like this particular job opens up several times. I'm not sure if it's specific to the facility, but this is the first time I've seen a job where they're offering $1,000 bonus for a weekend position. So essentially this person is just working the weekends. Is this the weekend one? Well, it's another one that's the weekend one. And they're, as a nurse, healthcare professional, you kind of have to be mindful. Like this job isn't terrible. When they put here 85 max rate, that means the maximum bill rate that they'll accept. So they really want to bring somebody in, but you have to think about if they're offering $1,000, offering a max bill rate, maybe there's something going on in the facility. I'm definitely not telling you not to fill it, but put your strong employees that are going to go do what they need to do, types of people at that type of facility. So Now they're using notes a little bit more and than they used to. Okay, so this is the one I was talking about, the weekend. So this is a weekend role. And if I was a agency owner, staffing in PA, I would put a bill rate of $85. And let them tell you the bill rate is too high. You know, they can kind of come back to you with feedback. But since they have another role in the same area, I would do that one as well at the same rate. So up here where you see the locked offers out is essentially what it says. It's just saying that another agency, because a lot of agencies have access to the system, it's really just saying another agency has put a, submitted a person and they have an offer out to that person. So they're just waiting for that person to confirm it. And 9 times out of 10, it'll get confirmed. If it doesn't, they'll cancel this job and reopen it. Couple other things to, we'll look at a couple of other states and then I'll talk to you guys about the top bar: orders, registry, time cards, invoicing. Anybody have a state they want to take a look at?
Georgia.
No, there's nothing in Georgia. I'm sorry. We could get close. Is that Shanika? There is something in Alabama, Shanika.
Illinois.
Okay, I could do Illinois. So this is what they got open in Alabama, which is quite a bit. Alabama and Georgia. I think the one Georgia facility they had, they sold it. So the red means it's canceled, just so you guys know what you're looking at. So this means the job is canceled. And then this orange means the job has been filled. So it just means another agency filled it. So they don't share the agencies that fill the jobs. So they have quite a bit in Alabama. You say Illinois. I don't think Illinois is on here either. I don't think Genesis. So we're just really looking at Genesis. So no Illinois.
Ohio?
Don't think Ohio's on here either. Ohio used to be on here.
Yeah.
I think they sold their properties as well.
Yeah, most of them are all we're all bought out.
Who
But
do you know the
Genesis.
company? Do you know the
yeah. What is it? Let me see.
Okay.
I'll get back to you.
Sounds good. So this is Kentucky. Kentucky is also a busy state. And Kentucky is very particular. So if you look here in the notes, some of the differences is Kentucky has a lot of attendance. If you call out twice, you're canceled. They have a lot more requirements. They do have orientation, which is good. Not every place will give an orientation. And this is a little bit different than New Mexico because it says it's based on facility needs, whereas New Mexico had a set schedule. What else? Another good state for you guys to think about is well, I guess not. I think they sold those properties, is Massachusetts. So Massachusetts has quite a bit of need. New Hampshire. I'm trying to think about it off the top. Arizona has a bit going on down there. They used to be in Texas. I know they're not in Texas anymore. Sometimes things will pop up in California. They do have a client in California, but it's always a hit or miss. So like some of your smaller states, or not smaller, some of the states where they don't have as many facilities, things will look different. But some of your popular states, Colorado, so on the East Coast, definitely Maryland, Massachusetts, because right now we're just looking at contracts. Maryland, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, PA, New Jersey, and then
skill.
it was, say it again.
Skilled, SKLD.
Okay, so maybe they're, yeah, you can maybe see who's handling them. I'm not sure. Vermont, New Hampshire, in the Northeast, West Virginia is very popular. Alabama, I see, is more popular. They used to have some properties in Florida. I think those probably got sold. I don't see those come up anymore. Kentucky, but you know, Maryland, I think I said Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, then the middle, like that middle America, so like Montana, so you guys can see. And then I'm gonna, oh, no more Montana. Oh, maybe that's the wrong thing. Iowa, I think it's Iowa. Okay. North Dakota. Oh, okay. Well, okay. I might be doing something wrong, but a lot of those middle states like Colorado, Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota usually have something. Washington State as well. And then because this is all their needs, you also see roles for speech language pathologists. If you do physical occupational therapy, you'll see some of that. Let's see, I think I have it sorted. Okay. Well, you'll just have to play with it. So you'll see some of that. In Vermont, since I'm looking at it here, they, like Maryland, don't call their certified nursing assistant roles CNAs. They call them licensed nursing assistants. So that's just something to, you know, note. I think there's some other states that have a few differences for that particular role. Like they may call them medication aides and things of that nature. But for the most part, the system is user-friendly. This is an Excel spreadsheet. Here is where you kind of know what the colors mean. So if it has a little star, it's a new order or a change order. If it's been canceled, like we see here in red, it's red. If it's open, it's white. If it's pending, meaning somebody from your organization was submitted for it, it'll show up in yellow. And then unconfirmed shifts for your organization will show up in blue. And then of course, scheduled shifts will show up in your organization in green, as well as field shifts from other places. You can look up, you know, pending, there's nothing pending, canceled. So you can look at different views, scheduled, nobody's scheduled, field as well. You can also look up, if you just want to do per diem, you can see what's out there for per diem. If you wanted to see per diem, if you just wanted to see contracts. And then some people don't know, but Genesis also does permanent placement. So this is your permanent placement jobs. This is for a center executive. That's what they call their administrators. So it's showing you what they're looking for, and the actual payout rates is listed in your contract. I think it ranges from about $3,000 to $7,000 as the payment. And then they also have an RN in Rhode Island. So the same thing, you know, everything's pretty negotiable, which is some of the things I like. If you negotiate for a contract and the person in the facility might be interested in the candidate, but not like the rate you sent, you might get messages that will come back and say, rate too high. So that doesn't mean that they decline the candidate. That just means you have to decide how much you want to adjust your bill rate. And, you know, some of that I tell people, consider, is it a contract? If it's just a shift, we typically don't adjust the pay rates for shifts or bill rates for shifts, But for a contract, I would consider adjusting the bill rate, because that's just a longer term monetary situation.